agency for 3 different projects. Sorry, I'm gonna pass them around, but I just got these from Sue Cahill, that they want to be lead agency for 3 different projects. 1719 Abeel, 2 South Prospect Street, and 45 Pine Grove Avenue.
So 45 Pine Grove is not in our review.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah,
that-
I don't think it's part of a district, and I don't believe it's individually landmarked, is it?
Okay. They are going, that project, I think that one is the old Fuller strip factory.
Yes.
So they are pursuing state, not mentioned to the, yeah.
I would assume that Sue sent it for some reason, and if,
Let me see.
rather than, deferring on it, there's no reason to object to them being the agency anyway. So I would just, ask if she sent it, and she's asking for you to decline being the lead agency, just do that. Because I don't want her to come back and say that she needs it for
I
some reason.
think
that
we
you-
decline being your lead agency on these projects.
But they're saying that,
Why don't we look at them?
Wait, but you said 1719 Abeel? That's in our district.
Yeah.
and 2 South Prospect, saying that, they want to be designated as the lead agency.
South Prospect.
That's the
Bill
bill.
Metropolitan Building.
Yeah.
They're
That's
turning
about
into
the-
bill.
Right, and that's outside of our
And that's,
district as well.
Chippo was looking at that one.
Yeah, okay.
So this makes sense.
So obviously for 2 we have, so there's one in the Abeel Street one is
1719 Abeel.
very familiar to me, and do I have to recuse myself on that one, having represented the former?
What?
Is
that
that
That's the one.
And which
that
was,
I'm looking at.
you already sold it
Is that-
to
is
Corinne
that
Perry.
eleven?
This is just for
Oh.
planning.
We've settled. I received your settlement.
That's right, I just sent it to you.
Yes, I got it this morning.
You never filed
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Yes, I'll go ahead and I'll just give you a copy after you resign.
Yeah, recuse yourself and just,
Okay,
Marissa,
Okay, so
Yeah.
Mark-
Marissa's in charge.
all right, I must recuse myself on 1719, having been part of litigation regarding it just recently.
Yes, it's gonna make it a local law. Yes.
Change your ordinance.
Yes, it's gonna make it a
So do we
local law.
have to
Yes.
after you guys, you just have to sign it? Is that-
No, actually, Marissa gets to sign 1719,
Okay.
I can't. I have to recuse
It's
myself
gonna make
there.
it a law again.
Raise the question.
That's right, it isn't settled till Kirchner says so.
So you just said.
Question.
I'm not
For me?
sure, but it stood out to me. Or-
Voice here, when they're going over papers, if you have a question for me.
Yeah, no, I have a
I'm out of
question.
this
When I
discussion.
understood,
I have a question. First of all, the present,
And I can't say that I found all of them.
Mhm.
I fell asleep.
is an ordinance.
The zoning.
The present zoning is an ordinance. It was a local law, and in July 2012, it was changed to an ordinance. I have a copy of the law right here, and it says, whereas the zoning law of the city of Kingston was adopted as an ordinance, and whereas in 27, the zoning law has been amended by local law, and whereas it has determined that it is at the best interest of the city of Kingston that section 405 of the Code of the City of Kingston shall hereby be an ordinance. Now therefore it is enacted that section 405 of the Code of the City of Kingston be adopted as follows. Section 405 of the Code of the City of Kingston is hereby adopted as entirely as an ordinance. So this legal notice says is incorrect. And the paper that you got from the comprehensive plan said proposed amendment to the Kingston zoning law. It's not a law, it's an ordinance. So the issue here is more basic than what we're talking about here. If you go to an ordinance, or an ordinance can be amended within 30 days, it's more timely, more responsive to the applicant and to your own needs. If you go to a law, you're talking 90 to 120 days, because it has to have 3 readings in the 2 readings in the council, then it has to go to the Secretary of State's office, then it has to come back, okay? So that's what you're talking about.
This is the difference between an ordinance and a local law. Local law has a specific filing requirement and is more difficult to undo.
Exactly.
It's not actually, that's something for our laws and rules to worry about. I think we really have to focus in on the nuts and bolts of what this interplay is with us. And so thank you for pointing that out. I mean, it's an interesting legal point and one that
Well,
laws
if you
and
pointed
rules
out the
really-
laws and rules, you might have an effect. Both an effect and an affect.
And laws and rules is fully aware of Bernie's concern, and laws and rules will make a determination based upon their own, judgment, and it has nothing to do with, your decision here this evening. Whether it's a local law, or whether it's an ordinance, is a decision that the legislative body is going to decide. Our
Thank you for
position-
bringing it up. I hadn't caught that.
So, back to the lead agency question. So, can I just go ahead and get a consensus with, we're okay with planning being lead agency for 45 Pine Grove? We have no objection to that, and we have no objection to them being the lead agency for South Prospect Street. Choose South Prospect Street. Does anybody have any other? Okay, so the question before us now is, do we have objection to the planning department being the lead agency for 1719 Abeel Street? And as a reminder, 1719 Abeel Street was before us in June. June was an emergency action notice to remedy structural issues with the roof, regarding the roof. And that somebody has stepped in and that work has been being addressed, or it's completed. Do you have the update for 1719? Where are they at with?
The emergency repairs have been made. He's going to proceed now with his goal to renovate the building. That's why it has to come before, first it's a secret review and then ultimately the plans.
That one? Why is it, what's triggering secret on this one?
It's going to planning because what his proposal is to create 4 apartments. And what the zoning law says, anything above 3 apartments requires site plan review, which then includes a secret review on that. Any structural change with the outer appearance on it has to be approved by this board also, along with the planning board. And obviously, he does have to make one change in there because there is no front stoop. So he's got to put something on the front of that building to get into the door. It's also in the city right away, so he has to get a waiver from the city in order to do this. We're talking to the applicant, I don't see any other major work changing the outer appearance of the building. It's strictly just putting 4 apartments inside, basically one above another on this side here and one above another here.
So the question is, do we have any issue with planning being the lead agency for this project? Does not negate our review of any changes to the exterior. I would be okay with planning being the lead agency considering that we don't have a dedicated staff person to shepherd this.
And that's really the issue with any, lead agency determination, is whether you're willing to do it or you're able to do it. And the truth is that this board doesn't have the capacity to do it, so objecting is kind of more. Unless you want to do it yourself, which you.
And it's lead agency for the seeker review.
Okay.
So once that's established, whether it's a type 1 action or a type 2 action, it will come back to this committee then for any changes in the exterior, of the building, and proceed from there.
So,
Just in general, what is usually the time frame for that?
A project like this probably could get done in as little as 60 days with the secret review. I believe they're on planning's schedule for the 16th of this month. They may be able to make. Well, this is the first time it'll be presented to planning. They'll conduct the secret review, and probably next month when they come back to planning, I don't foresee it being a drawn-out seeker review. They would probably establish, what the seeker is at that meeting there, issue their ruling. Then, like I said, the plans then would have to get drawn up as to and accepted what their site plan is going to be. There's very little property for this building, other than the building itself. I mean, Mark can tell you, it's
Built into it.
yeah, the footprint is the building, basically. So landscaping is not going to be a lot of landscaping. I mean, it's basically what's there is what's there.
In an ideal world, it would be a coordinated review.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they would be lead agency and then it would be.
Yeah, well, like I said, once they establish seeker, they still then have to do site plan review. You have to do your approval on the outside of the building, have to get building permit. The only agency that's not going to chime in here is Heritage. It's not in.
Right, it just
anything
would
with the
be
Heritage.
helpful to the applicant if we could give them some sort of direction before they get far down the path with a certain set design that's been approved by planning that we potentially find issues with. And so the sooner we can help them, give them feedback and get them on their way.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
I think my concern with this building would be fenestration changes, much like the other building on
Yeah.
Abeel Street that sort of happened.
And 111 appeal.
Right, so if that kind of conversation could happen sooner than later.
I don't believe the applicant would have, there's nothing in the HLPC statute that says that the application has to be filed after, the planning board has, done their site plan. I don't believe that the applicant, particularly in this case, given how much experience the applicant has with this commission and how, frustrated he has been, I don't think he would have any objection at all to bringing it to you contemporaneously with the planning board, so that, he's not going back and forth like that.
Okay,
There's no requirement, but,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
an informal coordinated review, perhaps?
yeah.
Yeah, he could probably supply us with the paperwork necessary for the next meeting here before planning determines the seeker. So you would get an idea of what his goal is, what he's going to do
And
here.
it would even
And-
help him,
yeah.
that planning to say HLPC's looked at this and they're good, if
Right.
that helps the case at all.
Okay.
And in reality, if we started doing that informally with applicants and have a, move towards a coordinated review without a requirement in the statute, it would help.
All around.
Yeah, it would be, I think that would be preferable.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if he has in his mind how that front stoop is going to be, because he's limited, you have to leave a sidewalk there. It's about between 6 and 8 foot wide now, so you can take some of it away, still leave a walkable path. He does have to go and get permission from planning on that, along with the mayor, to sign off, because it is in the city right away. So it's part of the site plan, and the mayor has to sign off to give him permission to do that. Like I said, what his plans are, I don't know. I don't know how elaborate he wants to get and how far he's gonna come out into the sidewalk, but, it'll all be presented to you. And like I said, probably could be presented to you as early as our next meeting.
Okay.
And we all know the building is ready to collapse, which is how you got to this point, so.
He wants to get everything, I mean, he did temporary shoring up and put a bladder inside to catch the water that was going in the hole, but he didn't repair the roof yet. This is what he wants to do now, move on to the next stage, which is basically tear off that roof, put a new one on when he does his interior modifications too. He has to put up structural walls to hold the roof up. So it's all gonna fall into place, and he'd like to get it done before the bad weather comes.
As would we.
So
Yeah.
that said, does anyone have any problem with planning being the lead agency for 1719 Abeel? So may I make a motion? I move that our commission has no objection to the planning department being the lead agency for the 3 projects, and Lori can list it.
Planning board. It's the planning board.
Planning board, right?
Yeah.
Planning board being the lead agency for
The secret review
secret review of
17, 19.
Yeah. Which would be the only one coming under your.
1719 Abeel, 2 South Prospect Street, and
45 Pine Grove.
45 Pine Grove Avenue. So I have a second.
Okay.
I second.
All in favor? Unanimous.
All right.
And one abstain.
Oh, yes,
Recusal, I have to say.
Recused, yes.
A little different.
So I need Marissa to sign these then.
Can I squeeze in one more thing? It won't take up too much time.
Please.
Okay. So we had, what I thought was a very helpful HLPC training session with Linda Mackey from the CLG program at the state. And she, at that meeting, said she would follow up with us in terms of where we are in terms of reporting and having other necessary documents. So she shared with me, and I will share this with Lori to distribute to everybody, 2003 progress report. It's an audit. We were audited in 2003. It's okay. Let me find it. It said that we were delinquent on reports, and we're still delinquent on reports. So I've asked her, we have submitted for fiscal year 2016, and we'll soon need to submit it for 2017. So I'm asking if we get up to date on 2014 and 15. Will that be adequate enough for us to be competitive in the next round of grant applications? So I'm waiting for her to respond to that. That if she says that 2 years is fine, we need somebody who was on the commission.
That would be me.
And even if we could bullet point stuff, and I will finesse it into a narrative, if that's all.
Okay, I'm gonna need some help digging up some old minutes to remind me what we did when.
Call me, come down.
Yeah.
We'll go.
There was also
And Yuri
a
actually.
question as to whether or not George has some of this stuff and just never submitted
He
it.
must.
Okay.
Can you follow
I
up with him?
will follow up with him. He gave me one folder of HLPC stuff, which interestingly includes an award from a certificate from the Department of the Interior.
From when?
I don't know, but they're congratulating us on having been their partner since 1986.
So it was probably in 2003, shortly after the last report.
Who knows? In any event, he's given me a pile of things.
She
I can-
doesn't have, the state does not have this information, so
Okay.
we need to get up to date a little bit. We also need to submit resumes. They actually were supposed to submit a resume every year, an updated version of our resume to make sure that we have the proper qualifications for,
Oh, okay.
Did
So
you
we-
send the agreement?
it's in here. I'll send you a PDF of it. Well, I'll send it to Lori, and Lori will, to be proper, will distribute it.
Circulate.
But Linda seemed to be okay with just one. So we can just get one copy of our resumes to her, so that's on record. Get caught up with at least a couple years of reports, which we can follow up with. And she was also at the meeting, she asked where we were in terms of completing the last grant projects that we got grant funding for the last time. And she mentioned something about a website.
Yeah, which surprised me. I don't remember that being part of the application back then.
It says, we had been $13,000.
And that went into.
Yeah,
This is when
this is
Lowell
2000,
Thing was
contract
our
period
chair.
2004 to 2006. Who
Lowell
was on the
Thing.
commission then?
Lowell Thing was our chair. at
Okay, so
that
I'll talk to
time.
him
Yeah,
and see if he can help me figure this out.
yeah.
And also, the folder that Yuri gave you, if I can scan all that
All right.
and digitize, like, I have a.
You're good at that.
Really, and we can scan it and everybody can have it, so we're not in the dark like this. Just start digitizing everything.
All right.
And feel free, anyone, to come down to our office, in our back filing room. That's where we keep all of the historic files for each individual property, but there's also files of
That
Come
way,
visit.
come visit.
Come visit.
Yeah.
Come visit. I mean, call me and just make
Right.
sure.
You're there.
I know you were interested in digitizing local records, and that is an actual
Lock off
treasure
some
trove
time.
back there.
Okay, I would love to
Yeah.
see what's happening.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And
it's
I would
great.
like to propose that for the next agenda, if it's not crazy, that we have a discussion of what projects we would want to pursue grant funding for. Like a discussion about what other projects we want to do. Because that application process will be coming up in February.
I think
Right,
And we have a holiday.
We'd have to get on Kristen Wilson's agenda. to-
Yes, she was quite receptive to the idea, but we ran out of time last year, so.
So you wanted to talk about what projects?
Yeah,
We
something about
want to fund.
DLG grant application and what projects we want to have funded.
Okay.
Can we talk about designating potential landmarks some more?
Yes.
And what is the process? I have a few that I would love to explore, and I don't know what the process is.
Okay, there is a process we trigger, and there's a process that the public triggers.
Well, if you want to put it as an agenda item, you should ask Lori to put it on, next month.
That's
So it
what
can
I'm
be
doing.
posted
On
and
this agenda,
discussed,
that we want to talk
Right.
about what projects we
In
would like to
general,
fund.
right, not
and
per-
designates
not per
some
property.
properties.
Right, just, yeah.
The process.
Yeah.
And
Right.
There's
How to
two
designate.
separate ones,
Right.
and then there are a series of hearings and votes, and we propose it essentially to the Common Council decides.
If you're going to talk about grants, maybe a request to have Kirsten come to the next meeting, and, she can explain what the deadlines are, what the needs, this way you'll know where you are.
That's a nice idea. If not this next one, the one after we focused in on a
Just,
couple of
I mean, before you need to see how many applications there are, on the agenda first before we start, just general discussions. And in terms of inviting staff, that has to, technically, that has to,
I've been meaning to ask, do we have a list of laws that we've established? It says something about that in 40559.
list of laws. I'm not sure.
I was just reading.
We don't get to establish laws, the Common Council does. So I'm a little
Well, it's-
confused by the question.
It says it here. Commission shall establish its own rules and procedures, provided that all regulations
Right,
are
we-
made.
yeah.
Do we have a?
we started that process, we need to get back to it, just in terms of the procedures for the commission.
Right,
You know,
for
they were
example.
pretty thin, they still need to be expanded, but again, in terms of addressing items other than applications, we've sort of been, limited, because
Right.
the meetings addressing business have a tendency to go pretty late, just addressing particular projects. So if we're putting just general discussion items on the agenda, we should be careful to do them in a way that, we really have time, and in a way where they're posted online so that the public has the opportunity to, be informed that it's gonna be on the agenda.
And if we're inviting folks, we should put them early in the business.
Right. Which is also, complicated when you have applications on the agenda,
Right.
and there are individuals like the people who were here this evening, who need to get work, started on their,
Right.
So in the next meeting, we're going to be discussing how we go about proposing to designate particular landmarks, right?
That's what I heard.
Yeah,
And
there are two
also-
proposed agenda items for the next meeting that are just general discussions, which was the grants and, the process for designating.
Right, we would like to talk about projects that we would like to fund and how to designate some new properties.
Have we ever submitted a budget to the mayor or something that says something? Do we do that? And what do we use?
Yeah, that's another thing we're doing on the budget.
Our staff has not done that ever since Charlie Landy zeroed us out in the budget. We had no budget for a year, zero. We had no postage, we had nothing. And we actually relied on contributions from viewers like you. It was a bizarre year.
Checked in a while, since 2015, but the last time that I called up to Crystal to find out, this is our account. We have one for deposits and one for vouchers. That is just for us, and I checked in 2015 and we had $661 in the account. So there might be maybe about 663 by now. Yeah. But I will go out and double check and see what we currently have in there.
Just from the application fees? Where
No.
are the funds, where did the?
No, we're budgeted by city council.
Oh.
So we have
There is still appropriations in the building department budget under the heading of Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission. It's more or less a joke, though. There's a, I think the whole total is less than $1,500, I know that. But it has to do with Freeman, putting the notices in the Freeman for meetings. It has to do, legal notices. It also has to do with the mailings, stationery, stuff like that.
The odd one that we have are the bronze plaques for HLPC.
Oh, yeah.
We do ask that people give a donation when they claim one of those.
I got a box of them, you want them?
We have 2 boxes of.
No, I gave you that box.
Yeah.
So he wants to give them back.
If you want me to keep them at my house, I can do that, but
Everything. I'm like crazy.
it was granted to me.
It sounds like they have rust on them by now.
Bronze.
We also
Do you have one on your house?
Are they real bronze?
We also have roughly
They are real bronze, yes, we have had
18
them
to
cast.
20 boxes of literature. If you go downstairs, before you go out the door, you'll see pamphlets in there. I've got more than an adequate supply of those pamphlets in the building department.
So,
The building department paid, it was paid for through the money collected here.
right, and I think that may actually be Lowell Thing's last project of the, yeah, if you have boxes and boxes.
There's some boxes that were printed in grayscale, and then they went to color. So you can tell you how old these are.
Okay,
Yes.
We're going back.
all right.
And do you know about the Midtown survey that Linda was discussing that could summarize what that was and where it ended up?
I think Jennifer.
That, actually, the original spark plug behind that was Kathy Maxwell, formerly the executive director of RUBCO. She has long had a really strong interest in historic preservation, and she was, gosh, it was done in 2 stages, one on each side of Broadway. And this is about 12 years ago.
Kitty.
Yeah. And the most recent one over
The more
the
recent
summer or spring
Okay,
was Jack and Kitty.
Yeah, Jacqueline.
And Jennifer was involved too.
yes, okay, so we're moving to,
Maybe
and
we
that
have
region,
Linda was saying that there was no, it was not conclusive, there were no recommendations that were drawn from that
Right.
study, so it's kind
a
of,
lot of data.
it's gonna pose a problem if you apply for a grant and we can't show that we completed the last project.
got it, all right, I
Was
don't
that the
recall
grant
seeing that
project?
report.
I think that's why she raised it.
Oh, I didn't think that was a grant project. I thought it was just something that,
Right, was that the Bluestone project?
No,
no.
It's
It was
just
just a
Midtown
Midtown
survey.
inventory.
A Midtown
I
inventory.
think maybe in 2014?
It was more
I
recent.
thought it was
No,
since I've been on the.
Yes, it was Jean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I remember her asking.
I don't
if
think we
anybody
got
wanted to
CLT money
volunteer.
for it, I
No,
think
I don't
that
think-
was arranged with Barton students, if I recall.
Yeah, she had students volunteering with her doing this.
Yeah, I think
it
of
was-
their
was
urban
last
studies
summer
program,
I
or fall.
so.
think it was within the last year of us being.
Okay,
we were
so
asking
no, that was
this.
not a CLT grant, that was more informal.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we did get CLT grants years ago on either side of Broadway.
It's just hard to put together, you know, when I don't,
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I don't know the details of that. Jennifer kind of ran with that on her own,
okay.
using it, incorporating it into her curriculum.
So I'll have a conversation with Jennifer and see if she can catch me up.
Yeah.
This was March of 2016, how we were speaking about goals for outlining and implementation planning calendar. We have a handout. All members were asked to pick a ward and to see if there are any buildings that
Oh,
are
no, no.
neglected. Oh, no, that's
the
different.
threatened building inventory.
Yes, that's a different one.
Yep.
Sorry.
All right.
And that
But it
still
was
needs
shortly,
to
it was shortly after that, I
Right.
remember, they kind of
Right.
almost coincided.
The threatened building inventory still needs to be completed too.
Mm,
Yeah, I think we're
A
what,
certain number of wards.
3/8 done?
Yeah. it's finished.
Okay.
So maybe we can think about redistributing those wards.
Yeah. All right, I think, yes, ask away.
Do we know if there's ever been someone that has traveled from one office in Kingston to the other of relevant files that has tried to marry all of this information for us so that we can have everything in one place?
Well, we've been trying to find an office, even an office here in City Hall, that we could have everything, where if we had a meeting like for tonight and someone came in from 13 Minutes Junior, we would be able to open up the drawer and there's the file, here's all the history.
But I mean.
The answer is no.
No,
I mean, besides that, besides the files that we have, but maybe like Friends of Historic Kingston or other organizations, the records, Foxhall, I know that's Ulster County, but
yeah, right.
has anybody looked into maybe trying to locate?
Yes.
Maybe it's missing?
Lowell began this, it continued for about 3 years. We tried to centralize it in a particular room in the Kingston Library. And with a new librarian, it was utterly dispersed and we cannot find it.
So this
So
is,
that was a real problem.
and this is one
But
of
they
the,
can't find the
Where they-
spot? Or-
The library, they think some of it's in the attic, they think they threw some of it away. We were really quite upset.
You mean the stuff that's in the local history room?
Yes.
It's still there.
Some is not.
Uh-huh.
so this is,
So-
we've talked about this a bit actually, as a potential, there are New York State Archive grants from municipal records that we could qualify for to digitize this material and essentially create an archive. And so if that's one of the things that we're wanting to do, and there was some interest from the
Yeah.
building,
I would
planning
be
department too,
Very
in doing
interested
that,
in helping with that.
I would too.
Yeah, another interesting repository is the engineering department. When you get back, they have some amazing maps.
Why don't we just start auditing what we know,
Yeah.
where we know it to be, and then compile that and think about whether or not that could be a New York State Archives grant? Because they're specifically funding municipal records digitization.
Where is the
Yeah, that
engineering
sounds
department?
great.
This building or down?
Yes, it's downstairs here.
Cool.
Yeah, so we have the office here in the basement or something, there just
I know
seems to be a
my house is
few
building.
locations that
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
really
There
need
is
to do some
house.
research, the
Yeah.
library,
Yeah.
somebody will let us into the
Yeah,
attic.
you're right. We wrote letters in the
Yeah.
past asking.
Let's
The
get,
first-
let's get a list together and we'll visit,
Washington,
yeah.
we'll visit you,
Yeah.
you out. If nothing else, we can start to publish that for people who are researching houses.
All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'm on Valentine's.
Those of you who have not yet moved, do you wish to adjourn?
Yeah. I wouldn't want
Do I
to.
have a motion to
I
adjourn?
move to adjourn.
I will second. All those in favor?
Okay.